Welcome back to the Djellab channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are doing very well. What a weekend and week it has been. And I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. As you can see to my left, two gorgeous people. Henry Hill joining me again. It's basically the Djellab and Henry Hill channel, isn't it?
Yeah,
really.
Get this man a credit, you know. No, it's good. It's good. You've been my brother in arms since the previous work. So yeah,
we can say the name, Football Daily.
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
Ellis Platten, thank you for joining me. How you doing?
It's good to be here. Good to be on a serious football channel, like we actually have some form of football intelligence, rather than me just dressing up like a mascot or something like that. It's actually quite nice to be somewhere quite. This is like upper end for me.
No, it's good, mate. I'm glad. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel. Now, as you guys can see by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about some things clubs can do, or one thing clubs can do to improve their season. To make a change, it could be a player, it could be a staff member, it could be a tactics change. We'll go through a certain amount of clubs and let us know what you think in the comments below. Henry Hill, though, let's start off with one of your suggestions.
All right, I'm going to go for Newcastle, I think. I think that's a nice place to start. Good team. So it's tricky. This is the thing, like, we have to bear in mind that injuries have played a big toll on a lot of clubs that need to do a change. And I think a lot of people are getting unfairly criticising Eddie Howe. There's an element of, like, what's he meant to do this season? And, you know, the big drops off. Sven Botman, for example, last year played something like 35 out of 38 games, started in the squad this year. I think he's been limited to about 12 starts across the campaign. He's a huge miss in defence. Even Dan Burns been a bit shaky at left back in terms of his minutes. And then if you go further forward, like Joel Linton, he's been missing for a few games. And actually, Nick Pope is the huge one, because the drop-off from Nick Pope to Dubravka is massive. Yeah. It is massive. Like, I refuse to listen to people that say, oh, Nick Pope's not good with his feet, whatever. When it comes to stopping goals, saving shots, which is his bread and butter, there aren't actually that many better in the Premier League than Nick Pope. I think he's a fantastic keeper. And for the money they paid for him, like, what a stunning signing. So I still think that, like, the mistake of Tonali was a mistake in terms of, like, the fit they needed for a central midfielder. They need a proper central defensive midfielder. They've conceded something like 41 goals this season already, whereas last season they conceded 33 across the whole campaign, which is how solid they were. So if I could change one thing, it would be they need to figure out how to get a better structure in front of their back line, because they've conceded 5 counter-attack goals this season. Only Crystal Palace have conceded more, which shows that they're caught out when they go forward. And when they've got injuries in that squad, Tonali missing, Joel Linton not around, when you have Bruno, Miley and Longstaff as, like, the three in midfield, that's
17-year-old Miley as
well. That's
yeah.
not a solid structure in front of a back line, which has also changed a lot this season. I also think they really need to work on they need to figure out the left-back slot as well, because obviously Trippier is a fantastic player, 10 assists this season, 1 goal. But if you look, like, the zones in which they attack, it's very much down the right-hand side through Trippier. Down the left, I think they're the second least, other than Chelsea, for going down the left. I'll quickly finish my point, and then like Livramento, Hall, Burn, they've not been able to, like, live up to, I don't think, to the standards of Trippier, because Trippier also puts up the most tackles in the squad as well. So they're very solid on the right side of the defence. But I think teams have figured out that, like, if you can nullify Trippier a little bit, they can't do loads building up from the left-hand side of the attack, and that means that when Trippier's had some stinking performances, which he went through that odd month
in December,
they've not been able to drop him because he's still so important. There's a reason Bayern wanted to pay something like 10 million for him already. So for me, what I would change about Newcastle is getting a better central defensive midfielder in and figuring out a solution at left back to unleash the left side of their attack. Those are the two things.
And the thing you say the thing holding them back is the injuries more so.
Yes, injuries definitely.
Yes, I think there's a few clubs that fit into that injuries category. I think I was looking at Aston Villa as being one of them as well. They're still having a fantastic season.
Even Liverpool.
Liverpool. I mean, a lot of teams have suffered a lot of injuries. Liverpool more recently, Chelsea since the beginning of the season, United as well. Luke Shaw looks like he's out for the rest of the season as well now. The guy, it's weird because I felt a couple of seasons ago with Luke Shaw, we was all saying, like, oh yeah, sign another left back to, like, replace him. They went and signed Malacia, and they were like, oh yeah, Malacia's okay. Luke Shaw came back in and was really, really good, and then everyone's since been like, okay, we need another left back because he keeps getting injured, and Malacia's not quite up to the grade for Manchester United. Okay, so I like that, Henners. I do. Newcastle, I think, holding them back is injuries. What is your first one, Ellis?
Obviously, I will do Leeds eventually, but I'm going to start with Burnley. And there's a lot to change about Burnley this season, which is and the obvious one would be change the style of play, but they're not going to at this point. And it's also, right, this is potentially bad for me, but James Trafford, he cannot claim a cross to save his life. He is so bad at commanding his area, and if they've paid the price time and time again for it, I would just put the other goalkeeper in at this point because he's a fantastic shot stopper, and I no doubt will play for England. I have no problems with that. Like he's going to be, he'll probably take over the reins from Pickford eventually. Like I think he's that good at shot stopping. He's so clearly a very young, talented goalkeeper. But they time and time again have paid the price from him not claiming a cross, trying to feign a foul in there, and it's cost them in stupid moments. It's cost them very recently. In the last 2 games, I believe, they've done it as a film in this. He's done it twice again. And it's not changing. It's not going to. There's no solution to it, and it's costing them points. Like it's all well and good saying, "Oh, they're really bad with the ball. And you can't translate to the Premier League." But you can do that. You've seen teams come from the Championship and play the style of football. But it's all well and good being in games, and you can't afford to. When you're on 13 points, you can't throw away points in the manner that they're doing so because of a goalkeeper flapping it across.
Their keeper last season, I can't remember his name. I think he's like Bosnian or Montenegrin or something. He was really good. He was like one of the top performing keepers in the Championship last season. Trafford, to be fair to him, that star role in the under-21s for England, saves that penalty in the final, whatever. Like he obviously looked really good, and I was touting it as one of the signings, like goalkeeper signings of the summer. But I completely agree with what you're saying.
I think it's weird. Like you almost see similarities to kind of like when Ramsdale was at Sheffield United and Bournemouth and such, and when you are such a young goalkeeper. It's funny, actually. There's a Chelsea goalkeeper called Ted Kurd who went on loan to #United. And it was really interesting for what he was saying because he said a lot of the guys at his age basically said to him, who are outfield players, basically said to him, oh, why are you going out on loan? Like, why? Especially to a club like #United, it was so much lower down the pyramid. And he said, look, for goalkeepers, it's different. There's a certain level in academy football where in a match, when you're playing for a team like Chelsea in academy, who are really, really good, you don't get tested all too often. Yeah. And in training, there's only so much you can do. You need that real life experience. And so I think with Trafford, you're seeing someone here who is learning a lot, who's learning that, oh my God, in the Premier League, like it is very tough to come out and claim a cross. It's not like under 21 football or even younger, where people aren't still fully developed and they're still not quite have an understanding of being very aerially dominant in the box and challenging keepers. That comes sometimes later on and through experience in playing in the top, well, not even just the top divisions, but playing senior football. And so obviously we saw him last year. He's been down in the low divisions, and that is he would have played against teams who do this similar thing as well. But it is just about having experience at the top level. And I think, as you saw with Aaron Ramsdale, you can take that and run with it and kind of get a move later on, or even a few years' time, as you mentioned. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he is starting for England. I don't think he'll be playing for Burnley at that point then. And for Burnley, like, it's someone who, in say 2 years' time, if he has improved, they can probably make a decent amount of money on him as well.
You saw it last season with Southampton signing Bazunu. Like, he did so well at Portsmouth, and everyone was like, oh, this is such a good signing for Southampton.
Yeah, he struggled last year.
Did not work out at all.
Yeah.
It's not to say he's not going to be a brilliant goalkeeper at some point.
But Bazunu, I think, like, his issue, I felt, was his shot stopping, like, just wasn't good.
Yeah.
Whereas Trafford, actually, think shot stopping wise
Trafford's
is really solid.
Probably one of the best shot stoppers in the league already.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, touching on the youngster part of it, a lifespan of a goalkeeper is so much longer than an outfield player, stereotypically. So he's young. He's also very young for a goalkeeper as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair enough point. I do really back Trafford, but you are right. There's some claims he tries for. You do have to. I think it's what you've seen this season, and I think Spurs have probably been affected by this as well. They are being a lot less lenient on these kind of goalkeeper free kicks, or like if any time someone touches them previously. They used to give a free kick all the time. And I do much prefer it like this. I think there is an element of keepers now need to kind of realise this and maybe fight their ground a little bit more and kind of stay on their feet.
In Trafford's slight defence, like, Burnley are very easy to play through. And he's facing an awful lot of traffic. And that's not easy. Like, it is going to be great experience, and he will be better for it, as you said, in the Ramsdale mould. But, Burnley, I think, from open play, conceded as many goals as anyone this year.
Yeah,
and it's just because they've tried to be expansive. They've tried to be play attractive football, which is very commendable. But it means that other teams really can figure them out quite quickly. So, yeah, Trafford's been under the cosh quite a lot, which can't be easy.
Yeah, and there's probably been moments in the games where he's flapped or something where he's probably made two. One of them doesn't my point. There's ruins my own point. Killing my own point.
No, but you're right though. Like the keeper last year, there has to be an argument that competition's there. Like he has to be afforded a chance.
Yeah, I think when you are also brought in as the young goalkeeper from Manchester City, you give him that number 1 shirt straight away, aren't you? Okay, my first one, I'm going with Nottingham Forest, and it kind of goes off the back of your one. I don't know if we're actually not too sure. I don't know who everyone's picked here, unless you picked Nottingham Forest as well. Okay, cool. So I've got Nottingham Forest, and it goes off the back of your one, but rather than just the goalkeeper, it's set pieces in general for Forest. It is really, really bad, and it hasn't necessarily improved yet since Nuno's taken over. Other things have improved massively, but set pieces still seem like the issue. They've conceded the most in the Premier League so far this season on 18. They might have conceded 1 or 2 more over the weekend when this is being recorded. Now they actually in the summer, I think, or the summer before, brought in a set piece coach called Simon Rusk. He was brought in under Cooper, and they also had rejected someone who I think is now at Watford for him. Now at the time of recording, they have beaten West Ham, so they had a nice little bounce back, but they were struggling big time in the league, especially, they made the change for Nuno. I do think things are going a little bit better, but their set pieces, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they don't know exactly what they're doing. I mean, they have a set piece coach, so they should be practicing and training, but there is just no idea on how to defend them. They haven't got necessarily a goalkeeper who is coming out and trying to claim them all the time, which I think, when you think back to kind of great defences, some of their keepers' claimings have been some of the best in the world. Like I think back to when Chelsea had Courtois and Petr Cech in goal, these tall, huge goalkeepers who would come out and claim the crosses very easily. Even Arsenal have that in Raya, someone who's aggressive, and we kind of go back to the goalkeeper point. But this has also been an issue on just like the way they are setting up for them. They are so open. They have no idea on whether they're doing man marking or zonal marking or how it's working in general. It's weird actually, because Nuno Espirito Santo has come out and said, like, I know this is an issue, but I just don't know quite what's happening. Is as we work on set pieces, we don't ignore it. We are aware. This comes from a long time ago as well. A little dig at Cooper. We work, we repeat, we insist on trying to find solutions, but also it kind of goes that in the actual moments on the pitch, it is on the players to kind of realise what's happening here. Yeah. And it also depends on the attack and what kind of set piece they're doing.
I think defence and goalkeepers really Forest's worst position. I mean, Matt Turner's not been great this year. He's not been great. I mean, the guy they signed from Vlachodimos from Benfica, I don't think he's even kicked the ball. They signed another goalkeeper in January as well, didn't they?
From Strasbourg? Was that the one from Strasbourg?
I can't remember who they signed, but they really, that has been a major flaw. And like when that's shaky, that does breed into the rest of the back four. And I think defensively, I'm not sure they've had like a settled centre-back pairing all season too. So it is difficult to like work. I mean, you'd expect as professional footballers they get this kind of stuff sorted on the pitch. But the amount of goals you mentioned there, 18 from set pieces, that's huge. That's losing them points week in, week out. That is a real problem. And we've seen at the other end of the spectrum, Arsenal really honing in on that you can win games from set pieces. Like, there's so much points to be earned. Even West Ham with James Ward-Prowse, like that's just a cheat code every time they have a corner and whatnot. So set pieces, I think, are having a renaissance. And in the reverse way, like here, Forest really need to tighten up, because that could be literally the difference in staying up this season when the margins are so tight at the bottom.
Well, I was looking into their kind of squad, and I don't know if it is as basic as this, but in some of their previous games, in the last like 5 games, on average, out of the 10 outfield players, only 1 is above 6 foot.
Really?
So it is like I don't know if it's as simple as just saying they're not tall enough.
Not tall enough
to deal with it. It sounds almost like a little bit like silly to say.
I don't think it is.
Like
No.
It's just one outfield player. Like Albioni, I don't think is 6 foot, but he is actually quite good in the air. He's physical presence, but he's not necessarily always on the pitch, so because of injuries. So after him, they've got Chris Wood, another guy who can do that kind of job as well. But after that, you then go looking into the rest of the squad, and it's not necessarily like guys who are physical and strong in the air. You've got obviously Callum Hudson-Odoi, who is the under-21 lad who plays centre attacking midfield that I've forgotten. Double barrel name. Morgan Gibson-White. Like, again, they've got quite a few of these guys who, again, fantastic on the ball. Don't get me wrong. But for defending a set piece, probably not the guys who you want in the box for it.
And it comes back to the commanding crosses as well, because Matt Turner, for me, is objectively the worst keeper in the league. So it's mental to me that neither of the other 2 keepers have had a consistent run at it. But Matt Turner is not a good goalkeeper, in my opinion. Sorry, Matt, if you're watching. But yeah, if you haven't got commanding centre-back, you need a commanding goalkeeper, and they've got neither. And I think, although it's trivial, maybe the 6 foot thing, it's probably right. Especially if 18 from set pieces is astronomical. That is mental.
It's really bad. I think they've got a really good defender. It's Morello, the Brazilian, who's really good, but I don't think he's over 6 foot either.
Even Xavi came out saying that he wants his Barcelona centre-backs to be more aggressive, and he's got a problem. That's why Koundé is not even starting at centre-half. I actually think it's like why someone like Ethan Pinnock, who's come up from the National League, the reason he plays week in, week out for Brentford. It's because he's big, because he wins headers. He just does like some of the basics. So I'm not saying he's an incredible defender. He's not. But if you look at like the profile of that Brentford back line, it's just big guys, no nonsense, who get the ball rid when it comes into their box. And that like saves them in what has been an otherwise difficult season.
Well, look at the top end of the table. You mentioned Arsenal, a team that are full of big physical players. Pep Guardiola has come out, and even last season and at this season, he was playing centre backs at full back so he could have more of a physical presence. Like, there is definitely over the last probably about 2 years now an increase on like physicality in the Premier League and trying to grow these physical teams. I'm trying to think, even Liverpool aren't necessarily tiny either, are they?
This leads in nicely. I was going to leave Fulham to the end as like a little kind of whatever, but it does lead nicely into that point, because I think the thing I changed about Fulham is mentality. And because when you look at like recovering points from losing positions this season, Fulham are the fifth worst team in the Premier League for that. Curiously, Newcastle are below them, but then it's Everton, your Sheffield Uniteds and your Burnleys as well. So 15 times at the time of recording, Fulham have gone behind and they've won 1 and drawn 2. Like, that's pretty kind of...
Yeah, it's not
so you think mentality's holding Fulham back?
So it's mentality. And
not having maybe a world-class, like a good striker.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's what you miss. Like, losing Mitrovic is so big, and Jimenez is not a replacement for him.
It is, but talking to like my Fulham friends? Fulham friends. Oh god, that could go wrong. Talking to my Fulham friends, like the energy's flat at the game, still quite flat at the club. Sometimes you never know what Fulham side is going to turn up. Like the Fulham team that beat Arsenal 2-1 looks so good, and we do have, like, I know you say we don't have attacking players, but when Tom Kearney's on it, even like Andres Pereira's got 5 assists this year, like Raul Jimenez, Deckled over Reed can turn up. Willian's been a revelation this season again. Like, it is there, and the style of football is there, but you just don't know what type of team is going to turn up week in, week out for Fulham. Like, they're often having to go behind in order to start playing good football. I think if you look at some of the defeats this season, really poor. Like that 3-0 defeat to Bournemouth, I'm not even sure we had a shot. A highlight worth even mentioning. Even against Villa last weekend, it took going 2-0 down to really spark to life. And you've got João Palhinha running around, obviously incredible, making big tackles, but we need someone else. Other people to step up. Like, we miss Calvin Bassey so much when he went away for the AFCON, because he is actually that guy he's got something about him.
He's grown this season. He started poorly, but you
guys are right. We need a world-class player going forward as well. If your best player is a central defensive midfielder, you are kind of exposed a little bit. And yes, the striking options is a problem, and that'll be rectified in the summer. I'm just, in talking about what to change right now, it would just a bit more fire from the guys. Like, we got to the semi-final of a cup this season. It's just a bit meh. Like, Fulham, it can be nice, it can be bad. Like, we're not going to get relegated. We're not going to do anything particularly wild this year. You just want to see like a bit more like across the 90 minutes from this Fulham team, except for like nice little spells where they turn it on a little bit. It's a mentality thing at Fulham this year, and I think that seeps into the crowd, which has seeped into the performances of the squad.
I went to the Stamford Bridge game of Chelsea versus Fulham. 1-1, 0-0. I think it might have been 0-0. I can't remember exactly. 1-0. I can't remember, but it was so boring. Like the game was so. But this was, to be fair, before Chelsea had been on this little run. And again, I'm recording this before the Carabao Cup final, so things might have changed. But yeah, no, it was really, really boring and just like turgid and just.
Yeah.
I very rarely I've ever gone to a live game and thought like, oh god, this is.
Do you
rough.
think that Fulham are maybe suffering from just mid-table Premier League fatigue? Like I say this as like a fan of a team who's been in the Championship my whole life. I tweeted about this the other day. Is the lure of getting out of the Championship to the Premier League is what makes the Championship so exciting. And then you get there and you realise it was not worth fighting for in the first place.
Well, interestingly, I just featured on a very good podcast with James Walcott where we talk about this very thing. No, I think we are having been a yo-yo club for a while. It is a privilege to be in the Premier League, and we should be relishing each game every week, like the best players coming to your club. The problem is we did so well last season, and there is an expectation that we should be winning a lot of these games. When the reality is we're not going to be winning a lot of these games. But I still think that you can. I still think Fulham have the foundations to be a better team than what they're showing at points this season.
Do you think it's tough as well, partially, as like for a lot of clubs, I feel like they go to even when they're a Forest fan or when they're a Leeds fan or whatever it might be, you go to the game thinking, oh, you know what, like, I'm super excited to see this player. Do you think right now at Fulham, having lost Mitrovic, there isn't necessarily that guy there? Like I know Willian at moments can be really good, but like, are people going to games going, can't wait to see Paulinho putting some tough tackles today?
Well,
like.
He is quality to watch. But I agree with you. That's more for the football purists. It's not, and I guess there's still little moments when Willian gets the ball. But yes, it kind of feeds into what I'm saying, Zach. Like there's not enough icons in this Fulham side to really get behind. So it's all very nice. They play nice football with each other. But like Harry Wilson might cut in and do something. It's all very friendly, and you want more superstar power. And I know that's really hard for a team like Fulham to get at, but you do land on those players every now and then. Like Leeds have had a number of them over the years.
Oh, Rafinha, don't even. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, it's more mentality. I will say it doesn't help that like it's so expensive to go, and they've realised that basically it can just be a tourist trap, and half the people there are just tourists who are willing to pay the 60 or whatever just to go watch Fulham play football. Like that is killing the atmosphere a little bit.
Has there ever been a good atmosphere? Like stereotypically, has there been a good atmosphere?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yeah, there is. Like when Craven Cottage gets going, it is cool. Like there's a reason that managers say it's like their favourite ground to come and manage in because it is quite iconic. When it just when we beat Chelsea 2-1 last year, was it? When we had that FA Cup run where we beat Tottenham in the fourth round last year. Like there are things to get behind, but that is like
beat Tottenham this year, didn't you?
Yes, that is mid-table kind of fatigue. What you're saying, there's only those few moments where you suddenly realise, oh, this could really, really mean something if we win this. So that's the problem. Like Fulham need to, I think, just shift their mentality a little bit, whether it's the fans or the squad, and try and get some more like icons to step up to the plate.
Okay, so mentality, that's what's holding back Fulham. Deco de Reeve, he's a bit of an icon. I love Deco de Reeve.
But he's still like a 6.9 out of 10 kind of guy. Like,
no, definitely.
He's
but he should pops up.
He's like him, and even Tom Kearney said they're very much like not really lost the full identity of the Championship team as well. If you know what I mean, like it's still kind of like in that sweet spot of it's gonna over the next 2 or 3 years you maintain and stay. You know,
Tom Kearney's so frustrating because he is actually someone that can do something incredible when he wants to, and he's begun to do it more this season. This has probably been his best Premier League season yet, but it is so frustrating because he's the captain. You want to see him doing with things with his left foot, but it's just not there every week.
Okay, Ellis, what is your one?
So I'm going to West Ham. Which, no, it's going to be quite nuclear, but the thing holding them back, I think, is the managerial situation.
As in, so are you saying the thing holding them back is David Moyes or...
David Moyes needs to go. But wait a minute, because I can also acknowledge he's done a fantastic job.
Okay.
He has done a brilliant job.
Henry's quite
he's won them.
serious about this.
He's won them the European trophy, and he's done brilliantly. But my point is more towards the fan base aren't behind him. And you need...
Sodom.
Yeah, but that's the thing. But you need the fan, especially for a club like West Ham, where it's so dependent on atmosphere, and it can get quite vitriolic quite easily because the expectations are so high. There's the West Ham way and all this stuff. Which what even is the West Ham way? We've played football for like over 100 years. There's not there's a nailed down way. However, the fan base, he doesn't have the majority of the fan base. He's not going to get them back on side. That isn't going to happen. They won the Conference League last season. The conversation was still okay. That's good. He needs to go now, and it does feel like for me that until he goes and a new man the fans can get behind, and it is one of them be careful what you wish for things. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Like he goes and the next appointment has to be perfect. There's money in place now there. There's the infrastructure. They're probably going to get Europe again. If they go and win the Europa League this season, like
It's tough. There's a lot of good teams in there, Brighton, etc.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Exactly, yeah. It's not, but like hypothetically, and even like this season, they should probably still. They're looking like they're going to be in the European race, whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's time to move. There was talks of a new 2-year extension for him.
And
doesn't really seem to have
gone.
It's sort of gone.
Yeah.
I just think it's probably time for a new face to go in there.
Well, do you think then, like, for instance, I think it's quite interesting you mentioned that rather than Moyes, more the situation is what's holding them back. Because do you think if Moyes just came out tomorrow and went, okay, guys, look, I'm going to leave at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It gives West Ham enough time to find who can come in later on. That kind of then eases everyone and then kind of fixes a little bit.
It gives fans clarity as well.
Yeah.
But I also think at that point, you also then put the... how does that work from a player's mentality-wise? You just feel like you're in a bit of limbo. I feel like it's kind of awkward to navigate, but I feel it's not going to ever improve at this point.
But I think West Ham is such a tough place for managers, man.
Yeah, because the expectation is so high.
And especially what David Moyes has now
that is the
set.
problem.
Yeah, the expectations are so high.
Whoever comes in.
And it's... For what? Why are the expectations so high? Like, West Ham, realistically right now, are doing as good as West Ham have done in my lifetime. Anyway, like... I'm aware I'm young.
Where'd they finish? Where'd they finish in the?
You're not wrong. Like their last trophy was
season.
the FA Cup in like 1980 or something like that.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
they were a championship side. This is the best it's ever been for almost 50 years to be a West Ham fan. And I completely agree with you. I think what the fan pressure has done has torpedoed this talk of a 2-year extension. And for Moyes' sake as well, surely he would just want to walk away
that's what
at the end of this. But Europa League semi-final, Conference League glory, knockout rounds of the Europa League again. They were in 6th not too long ago. I don't care. Like, get behind your club, get behind your your manager. I think it's pretty disgraceful what he's going through. Like, what else is he meant to do? I know the football is a bit turgid. I remember watching. Do you remember when it was West Ham Crystal Palace on live TV, and then you had like these other amazing games going on? I remember I was watching that, like, oh my god.
Well, even the Arsenal result recently.
Yeah, it's just
And
okay,
Forest.
but every team has a stinker in them. Like, I mean,
They're going for a bad month as well.
Being absolutely rifled at home against Arsenal.
No.
Rifled?
Yeah, rifled. Yeah, no. You are right, but I still think on the whole, they're playing good football. Even their like big signings are starting to be better than previous when they seem to just waste money on everyone that came through. But yes, you're right. Just it's clear that like Moyes is probably not going to stay longer. And maybe Zach, you're right. Maybe just come out and say that, but just get behind your club. Like I really think that he deserves all the grace in the world for what he's done for this West Ham.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
And also, I know what you mean by the player mentality, but it might be the opposite, where actually the fact he goes, okay, guys, I'm leaving, and the fans go, all right, let's now really like give you a good send off. You did amazing things. That means that the club like. I think sometimes when a manager does that, there's kind of it's also when sometimes like, you bring in an interim. There's almost like an acceptance of okay, well, this rest of the season's kind of
just done.
Done. Yeah, we'll try and stay where we are. But West Ham are battling for something right now. I think it is if Moyes could go, look, all right, I'll leave at the end of the season. Thank you so much for everything, but we've still got to kind of finish this season strong. It then gets the fans back on side, and I think the biggest thing gets Jurgen Klopp coming out when he did. Very different clubs, Liverpool and West Ham, very different clubs. But Jurgen Klopp coming out when he did, even though it was a shock to the fan base and everything and the media, it does give Liverpool a lot of time now to put their chickens in order. That the way it goes? Chickens in order?
Ducks in a row.
Ducks in a row.
Oh,
Chickens in order.
Sorry,
Yeah,
ducks in a row. Apologies.
Chickens in order.
Put their ducks in a row and
That
go.
could be a thing though.
And go, okay, we're going to go all in for Xabi Alonso. You've seen Bayern Munich just do it as well with
So
Thomas
I thought you meant for
Tuchel.
West Ham. For a
No,
second.
no. But you've seen them kind of these top clubs go. Okay, we're gonna give them to the end of the season. There's alarm going off.
Yeah, there's an alarm going off because there's a West Ham fan. out there.
Yeah. Sorry, weird. Sorry, that really shook me. But yeah, they're going to give them to the end of the season, and it means the clubs can now go out there and battle for. Well, both of them obviously going for Xabi Alonso, but they can go and if they can make a plan B for if the managers happen. I think that could be really interesting if West Ham took that approach as well.
Just quickly, like this is kind of what James and I are talking about as well. In terms of fan satisfaction, I feel as if it's either because bear in mind they're paying a lot of money. Fans do pay a lot of money to go see their team week in week out, and I feel like in order for them to accept what's happening, one of these things has to be good. It either has to have the club has to have a clear identity in terms of like community spirit where they're going. They either need to play really nice football or they need to be winning. Like, one of those things has to be good.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, West Ham, the last one, is really good.
Yeah,
They have a clear identity as a fan base and a club. Like, West Ham are West Ham. I think they're about as defined as any team in the Premier League. And then you have the fact that they're playing like European football week in, week out. Like, surely that's enough to negate the bad football.
I'm completely on your side of this, but the West Ham fan base isn't, and that's what I don't get.
True.
Like, but I feel like you're as defensive as Moyes as I am, like Gareth Southgate. Like, I'm fully on the Southgate in train. So it's like,
you're right. That's fair enough.
So I think, it is one of them things where it is purely a fan base thing, and maybe you can't speak to it unless you're a West Ham fan. I'm sure West Ham fans will comment on this video saying their reasoning for being Moyes out and whatever, but from an outside looking in, it does sort of seem like you are having it as good as West Ham possibly could have it, really.
Okay. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below on all of these subjects. My next one, guys. Again, we're doing this before the Carabao Cup finals. This is about Chelsea. And again, Chelsea actually recently have had a few results go their way. Drawing to Man City after being 1-up for a long time. We saw them beat Crystal Palace in the last few minutes of the game.
What a turnaround.
But one of the issues, one of my issues is what is kind of going into this Crystal Palace game. It's the role of Enzo Fernandez. Not Enzo Fernandez as a player. I think he's fantastic. But I have, for the whole season, not quite understand why there was a screenshot of the Crystal Palace Chelsea game that went viral, where there was this massive box where like there was no players in, and that's exactly where Enzo Fernandez should have been. I basically think Enzo and Caicedo need to be right next to each other, almost between the distance of me and Ellis. I think that's where we've seen him really thrive. Parts of this year where I think Chelsea have really struggled is when he's being deployed essentially as like an attacking midfielder, as someone who is trying to get in the box all of the time. It's okay getting into the edge of the box and kind of making these runs, and we've still seen him do that when he has stayed closer to Caicedo. But I feel like we really struggle, especially in the games like playing say, Nottingham Forest or a West Ham or whatever it might be. Someone who's going to give us the ball and let us and try and play us on the counter. We really struggle when then Enzo's not in, because Enzo is so good on the ball at trying to pick the right pass and being creative. We need him in places where he can get the ball all the time, and I think that is somewhere a little bit deeper, not in the kind of 10 role / kind of occupying that kind of space. And when Chelsea are playing this like 4-4-2 formation where like Gallagher's also kind of like a pressing striker and all that kind of stuff, when Enzo is then running forward as well, you got one guy in Caicedo. I sometimes feel for Caicedo because I think he looks at like the onslaught coming at him and goes like, what do I do here? Or like gets the ball and looks around. He's like, well, I've not got anyone to give this to. I've got to play it backwards. And so, it's not. So I think Enzo Fernandez is holding Chelsea back. I don't think that at all. I think he's fantastic. I just think sometimes the way we're using him is. I think back to the Liverpool game, which we lost at Anfield. He was always like never there for that perfect opportunity to play the pass.
So do you think in that sense it's Pochettino holding you back in? I'm not saying that it's not Pochettino, but in that one decision.
It's weird though because he's also like he has done it. Yeah. As in, like, Enzo has had games where he's done that, and we've looked so much better. So I don't know if it's like I just don't know if it's like Enzo something that he's not doing or something that he is being told. Whoever it is. That's my issue. There are probably other issues people could have with Chelsea, and that'd be fair enough.
Do you know what I think you need another midfielder in there? Do you know what I think you need to go to like a 3-5-2 or something like that?
Just three at the back? Not necessarily.
What is the Chelsea formation at the moment?
The Chelsea formation at the moment, realistically, is a 4-4-2. Realistically, it's a 4-3. It's a 4-3-3 or 4-3-2-1. Really, but when they are like defending, it goes into like a 4-4-2 because Gallagher's like bombing forward to like press. Okay. But I also like, I don't know if it's me being quite simplistic, but like when you've spent over £200 million on a midfield duo, like they should be able to do the midfield together.
Well, look, price tag is a price tag.
You're not wrong.
I agree with you. I said this before. Like, I don't think there's enough depth behind them in the squad in order to like.
But that is also due to injuries, right? Like Lavia's out, Leslie Uchukwu's out. Like,
okay, well, be it as it may, I still think that like as much as you spent all these money on players, there has to be a pragmatic style of play. And I know Chelsea, they're still sort of shell shock and stuck in this idea of being a major club. Like, surely if you're saying that Caicedo's getting caught pretty much cold when players are attacking, put in another defensive body in there, defensive-minded midfielder there, and trust in the ability of your attackers going forward. That's what I would be doing.
But I think like that doesn't happen if Enzo's just a bit like isn't going forward as much.
Okay.
For instance, look, there are probably other completely different ways to go about it, and it'd be really interesting actually to see Chelsea how they perform against Liverpool. Again, we'll put this out after it's happened, but against Liverpool and how that kind of works out there.
I think like it does boil down to that though. Do you think there is enough faith in your attacking options? Like, do you as a Chelsea fan feel confident in your attacking options? Because I look at outwardly and like Cole Palmer, yeah, but like outwardly, like Cole Palmer, there's a reason Man City let him go. I feel like he's a very good footballer. He scores a lot of penalties. But like I don't back many of your forwards.
I think it's the issues they're so young. Like I can't sit here and say one of our forwards will score, maybe Palmer, but one of our forwards, apart from Palmer, will score 15 goals a season, which is what you need in forwards really to be heading out at the top. But my issue is, I think we create a lot, at least at the beginning of the season, Chelsea were creating chances. Yeah, it's been a noisy day. Chelsea were creating chances and missing them.
Yeah.
And there has been a period in this kind of last maybe 2 months or so where we haven't been creating the chances. I'd much rather create the chances and miss them.
Yeah,
and go,
of course.
Well, I need a player to put them in the net, rather than sit there and go like, well, we can't even like get through their defence at the moment, and that's because the guy that's meant to be doing it is playing in the box all the time. I think the Chelsea forward situation is something that's probably a whole video in itself. There is experience that is needed, but I think that's something that like they're going to have to look to in the summer. Maybe that's Ivan Toney, maybe that's something else. We'll see.
And if you want to see a video on Chelsea's forward situation, make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Thank you. But there we have it with Chelsea. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is that the thing that's holding back Chelsea, or are there other issues? Let me know there. Headers.
All right. Well, my final team is Brighton, and it was going to be quite a goalkeeper heavy conversation this video, which is quite nice in some ways. Well, this is the thing. Brighton have used an extraordinary number of players this season. They've obviously got an extraordinary number of players anyway, due to their transfer policy. And it's, again, injuries are an issue, and you can't rely on Lallana, Milner, and as we've seen with Dahoud, you can't rely on them to play week in, week out. That's not the foundations. They've obviously replace the big players they sold with lots of players, as it were. But I think De Zerbi has struggled to settle into a starting 11 that really, really works for him. You see that in the attack going forwards. You never got Buonanotte drifts in and out the side. Evan Ferguson, he's really dropped off this season. You just never quite know who's going to be picked sometimes for this Brighton team. And in goal, I think that's been particularly problematic. He said at the start of the season he was going to rotate Verbruggen. Is it Verbruggen? And Steele. And I don't like that policy at all. I think just you pick a keeper and you get behind him, because Steele's numbers are poor. They're really poor. I think it's a nice story that he's kind of elevated into a Premier League keeper this late on, but his save rate as of last week when I was researching this was about 61%, and it wasn't much better before that. His post-shot XG, essentially, how many goals he's meant to prevent compared to the shots that he's facing, is minus 2.4. Verbruggen's is also minus 2.1. He was played in the 5-0 win at the weekend, but still Steele has had more minutes than him across the campaign. I know they've got Europa League football as well, but Verbruggen's numbers even at Anderlecht before that were much stronger. This is the guy you've bought for a lot of money. I think so. Just back him. It doesn't help that in front as well. I think, is it Van Heck? Or there's a
Van Heck.
Van Heck. The blonde
guy looks quite like
he's struggled. He struggled to step up and fill the void in centre half that was left behind from Colwill. In my opinion, he's done okay, but still the numbers aren't particularly great. If you look at it statistically, it's fine. But I just think they're obviously conceding a lot more. They're not winning as many games this season, and I think it doesn't help by the massive rotation going on in the defence and particularly in goal. I think for me, I just want De Zerbi to pick a team, stick with it, and that starts with Verbruggen in goal.
I think the issue you've got is De Zerbi's just never going to do that. He is such a. I think De Zerbi's quite a very interesting manager in how like he the way he rotates, and also because of Europe as well, and the injuries they've had, he's kind of had to. I get what you mean though, because even someone like Evan Ferguson, who obviously I've raved on about a lot, hasn't been probably to the level he was last season. He's also played not as much as you'd probably thought he would, considering how he ended last season. I think the issue.
So do you guys agree with me that Steele's not particularly great?
Yeah, he's also got a championship goalkeeper's name, and like that, the stuff of that really matters to me. Like he sounds like a football league goalkeeper, Jason Steele. And also like you said, a defense. You always hear defenders speak about like it's the consistency in goal.
Yes,
leading the line is so important for that, and you can't. How can you get consistent when you rotating a goalkeeper is mental? There's a reason why people don't do it.
Yeah, well, even that Mikel Arteta thing was just an excuse to eventually play Raya all the
It's
time, wasn't
just
it?
a complete lie. He was never ever going to rotate.
Yeah, I think the whole thing that happened with Steele was because he could play with his feet. That was the whole thing. Because remember that obviously they had Robert Sanchez and there was a massive falling out because he started not playing him and that they basically believed he couldn't do it with his feet as well as Steele could. Is Steele the starting goalkeeper? Should still be the starting goalkeeper maybe for a Brighton side that's in Europe. Maybe not.
Back for Burian. He's capped for the Netherlands. He's no slouch. Like he was really, really good last season. There's a reason they paid like lots of money for him. Just back him, and like he's only going to get better and grow in confidence. I feel like next year will be a real breakout campaign for him.
Yeah,
nice.
But yeah, there's a reason someone so data driven signed him in the first place.
Yeah, very true.
Which is why we said when you were talking about the data behind Steele, mental that he's even playing in that sense as well.
Yeah.
Very true. That's also just a Djellab for you. Ellis, what is your final one?
Sorry to cheapen it with championship chat. We've all done our clubs. I'm going to talk about Leeds United. The problem is, I feel like we should do your own club. We've won 8 in a row. We're actually going to, by the time this goes out, we'll have played Leicester on Friday. If we win that, I actually back us to win the league, which is mental to say, because us, Leicester, Southampton and Ipswich all having record-breaking seasons. But still, we have no plan B. And it's mental to say, and obviously I'm aware this is a very championship specific chat and to one club in the championship, but we have the best forwards that probably the championship has ever seen in Gnonto, Rutter, Somerville and Pirro as a 4, and you've got Bamford on the bench as well who suddenly hit form. You've got Dan James on the bench, Jadon Anthony, who was one of Bournemouth's best players last season in their promotion season, doesn't get a look in. And then you've even got like really like highly rated young players like Mateo Joseph, Joe Gelhardt, who don't get minutes at all.
Did Gelhardt not go on loan?
Gelhardt didn't go on loan, which is mental. Yeah, considering how his breakout season, remember he scored at Chelsea?
Yeah, mate, he was really
incredibly great. He's still a really, really exciting player, but he can't get near the team. But the problem is, because we've got so many good attacking players, whenever a game isn't going our way, Barker's, what he does is he just throws everyone on. We played with one centre midfielder against Norwich away. We won in the end, which is annoying because I'm going to make a point. But then we decided to do that every game. There's been points this season where we've had James, Anthony, Gnonto, Rutter, Somerville, Bamford and Perot on at the same time. There's 7 attackers.
Yeah, Bamford scored that fantastic goal.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. I love, this is the most, the post Bielsa, but the Bielsa and this team are the 2 teams I've enjoyed the most in my time being a Leeds fan, like through my life. And it's fun, we win every week, but there is still, we would be top of the league if we had a plan B.
What would that plan B be?
Just have just more faith in your midfield. Like it really, nothing frustrates me more in football when people are trying to defend a lead, for example, and they throw on another centre half and take a midfielder off. I'm like, no, because you need to retain the ball more. So you need an actual centre midfielder in there. So you're actually losing possession of the ball more, just so you can have someone who heads the ball away a bit more. But we have none of that. There's no attack and rhythm to us. And whenever we make changes, we look significantly worse. Even if we're winning a game, when the changes come in, we look worse to the team. Barker has also got this insistence on he will only make changes around the 70th minute. So he won't make changes before then. And it's like, and it's also like, it's like he's playing Football Manager and he's like, I need to get these people a certain amount of minutes. And the 70th minute, he pauses the game and makes the changes. And every time.
The fatigue.
And yeah, you can see it. There's been games this season, for example, we lost against West Brom. And the game was
there one actually, yeah.
And we were awful. And the game was crying out for change for so long. And it's just, and the changes aren't going to benefit us. It's really awkward. It's really weird. If our plan A doesn't work, we're losing the game. And if we go to and if we go to play our final, that is an uncomfortable situation to be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was just thinking back to that game, and it was weird. It was almost like because it was quite nullified going down the flanks quite often, and it was almost like just thinking, okay, well, bring on. Make a little bit of a change because you were consistently trying to go down the flanks. It wasn't working, never going through the middle. Trying a couple of balls over the top that just weren't ever working. And to be fair, Carlos Corberan's got quite a resolute, packed squad who make it tough to play against. And yeah, it was just never like a plan B. There was never like another option of like, okay, we'll play this way, we'll try this way. I remember they brought on Bamford, and it was just like an acceptance of, okay, we'll play a few balls over the top, and nothing. All for him to try and knock on didn't really work out.
The problem with Bamford as well, like, I know it's because what footballer isn't a confidence player? You know what I mean? Like, you're obviously going to play well with confidence, but he is the ultimate definition of it. When you get Bamford rolling, and the reason that the plan B thing worries me is because I think we will go up. All season will go up. That worries me going into the Premier League with a manager who has consistently not done it. He didn't do it at Gladbach in Germany. Didn't do it at Norwich every time he went up. And he had the tools at Norwich. Well, they had Buendia. Emi Buendia was, I know, obviously, still he's probably the best player to ever play for Norwich. Really, if you look at like their history.
Grant Holt, maybe.
On Gladbach, like he was there at a very tough time. But I completely agree with you. Like Leeds' sort of Achilles heel in the Premier League was a lack of a plan B for a lot of the time there. Like once the Bielsa shine fell off and they continued to try and like play really aggressive attacking football and it didn't work out, then Leeds got sort of cut through pretty. And if you're seeing that now when they're winning, recognising that they need to have an ability to win games in other ways, then that's going to be a big concern if you go up. And I think you will go up as well.
I think it's one of them ones as well where it's like, it's interesting to like even have conversations like that because one, we haven't gone up, and two, the whole squad will change. You have to do it. You have to. Now, you have to sign 12, 15 players. Because realistically, in our squad, who starts in the Premier League? I don't really know. Joe Rodon, Meslier, Somerville, Rutter.
Rodon been good?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we've got the best defence in the league.
You're not owned by you've got
owned by the
new, the new owners, haven't you?
49ers group, yeah.
And I assume they'd spend money if you got promoted as well.
I want us to be linked with a new player every day. That's the best thing about going up. Our first season back in the Prem. Oh yeah, as a Chelsea fan.
No.
Do you feel like you know your squad now? Sorry.
I think because of working in football
club,
and doing something for the club. Yes, I think if I was a casual fan, you'd probably find it quite. Tough.
It's very because you need to love a squad. Like you need to really get behind.
But I also think that comes through moments. I think that comes through moments, right? And comes through a victory in the Carabao Cup final or a win over a certain team or whatever it might be, a comeback. And so I think.
That game is huge. That is a huge game. So if you win that, you got Europa League football next year.
There's no point doing a preview now. I'm gonna be there.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see how it goes because this video will come out after the game. So
well, there we have it. The thing holding back Leeds United is not having a plan B. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. Ellis Platten, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people at home find you, and what do you do if they don't know?
I go to a different football match every week. I also have a series called Shirt Shopping where we go and buy football shirts as guests. It's away days on YouTube, and check me out there, please.
Amazing. He will be linked below. Henry Hill.
Can I just say I've really enjoyed this. I feel like we haven't just talked about the big teams, Chelsea included. So yeah, it's just been nice to talk shop about goalkeepers and stuff like that. Yeah, it's good. Hope you guys have enjoyed it too. Please follow me on Twitter if you haven't already.
Yes, please do. Henry will be travelling not too far, so if you see him on his travels, say hello. You can do.
Please do.
Subscribe to the channel, like the video, get in the comments below, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye.